The last one, summarizing question. This one's going to make you a whole lot of money. Summarizing questions aren't at amateur grade level stuff. Here's what I heard you say. Summarizing questions, again, is where we're going to ask them to start defining reality, to start being more specific on what they just said. I'll tell you what, one of the most frustrating things in the world is when somebody gives you a wimpy, wishy-washy answer that could go either way. Have you ever given a presentation to someone and they say, yeah, it looks good? Okay, let's drill down a little bit. When you say looks good, what does that mean? So here's another example. Just so I can make sure we're on the same page. What did you just hear me say? Now, we're going to talk about how to soften some of these so that they're not quite so in your face. But let's think about this one right here. Just so I can make sure we're on the same page, what did you just hear me say? Have you ever been on the phone with somebody and doing something else at the exact same time? You know, maybe Facebook or checking your email. Yeah, I think we all have. What are the odds, if that's true, if you've been on the phone with somebody doing something else at the same time, not really paying attention, what are the odds that that's also happening to you? Pretty good. I can't tell you how many deals have been lost simply because what they're walking away from the conversation with isn't at all what we're bringing to the table. And what's going to happen when we start to ask these summarizing type questions? Again, we're going to have them define reality. We're going to have them get a lot more specific on what it is that they just said. And if they heard it wrong, when do we want the opportunity to correct that? I call these summarizing questions because they're typically come up at the end of a conversation. Imagine asking this. Was there anything specific from this conversation that caught your attention? If they answer, no, not really. Okay, we're in a lot of trouble. But what they're probably going to say is, yeah, this, and this. The things that they pick are the ones that are most important to them. By asking questions, by helping people get clear on what's actually going on, they're going to be telling us, and when they tell us what's going on, when they tell us all the reasons, a lot of the hoops that they make other salespeople jump through, you and I, we don't have to deal with that. You can always tell a professional by the quality of questions that they ask. The quality of your questions are going to determine the quality of your conversation. Have you ever walked into a conversation with just some throwaway type question? They can tell that, can't they? They can tell that you're setting them up to give an answer that's going to identify them as a prospect. They put up those walls of resistance because they don't want you to waste their time. Amateurs, they hope the conversation goes well. They walk in to an appointment hoping everything goes in their favor. Professionals, they make the conversation. You and I, imagine what would happen the next time you have a chance to speak with somebody. If you developed a list of these 9 types of questions: information questions, problem solving, challenge, extension, combination, priority, action, prediction, and summarizing. If you had 9 different questions that you could ask, how well is that conversation going to go? What light are they going to see you in as a direct result of the meeting that they just took? This is interesting. You know you've asked a good question when you're surprised by the answer. Have you ever asked somebody something and their answer said, I never thought of it that way? Now we've got the inside stuff, the stuff that nobody else gets, but we have. If you want something different, you have to do something different. So what were some of the key takeaways that you took down? Sometimes at this point, here's what people say. Bob, I really like that idea of asking somebody what they just heard. I really like the idea of asking somebody, was there 1 or 2 things that they took away from the conversation? A lot of times people say, Bob, I'm going to use that idea of listing out 10 things on a piece of paper, handing it to them and saying, I could talk about any of these 10, but where would you like to start? Leave a comment, share with people, what is your experience? Now, we're going to end this session just a little bit different. And I'm going to give you what I call some lonely work. Lonely work, it comes from the world of boxing. You've seen movies, right? Where the boxing gym, you have all these guys doing all these different activities throughout the gym, but you only see 1 or 2 coaches. Lonely work is what happens after the session is over. So here it is. I'm going to ask you to leave a comment and give me an example of one or two types of these questions that you could ask somebody. And here's what I'll do in return. If you post an example of one or two of the questions that you could ask somebody, I'll give you feedback. Might sound like, hey, you've got it, you've nailed it, that's exactly it. Or I might be able to join in with, looks good, but what if we were to ask it this way? We want to make this as close to your world as possible. When that happens, this stuff starts showing up a heck of a lot faster and on purpose.